truth to tell. Lying lips like a prison cell. Judges blind, caseworkers fall. Stealing families, no justice at all. Gunning for justice, screaming loud. Tear through lies, break the shroud. For the kids, the broken homes. We won't stop till the truth is known. One man stands, fire in his heart. Gunner fights, tears the dark apart. CPS deep in the corruption game. He lights the match, sets it aflame. Gunning for justice, screaming loud. Tear through lies, break the shroud. For the kids, the broken homes. We won't stop till the truth is known. Family shattered, tears on the ground. Echoes of voices in silence drowned. We are the storm, we are the fight. Through the shadow, we'll bring the light. Gunning for justice, screaming loud. Tear through lies, break the shroud. For the kids, the broken homes. We won't stop till the truth is known.
Hey look, this for every mama got her baby snatched on some bogus shit. For every pops they locked out the crib like he ain't blood. CPS, y'all been eating off pain for too long. We know what you on. But now it's war, this gunning foe, CPS. Kick doors, no warrants, they taking our seeds. Say it's neglect, but they planting they greed. Feds in they pocket, judge got a fee. Run it like a business, adoption spree. Contracts overseas, got partners in France. But shorty from Shy, he ain't get a chance. Mama work 2 jobs, daddy do right, but they still snatch his baby in the middle of the night. Fuck CPS, they ain't saving shit. Just a system full of snakes getting rich off kids. We see through the cap, we done taken the hit. Now it's Suffer Davis popping and we loaded the clip. Gunna got the case, now we in that fight. Taking this to SCOTUS, shining that light. They ruined good homes, now we flipping that script. Time to bring them back, time to empty the clip. They labeled us monsters, called us unfit, but it's they paperwork dirty, all of it forged and flipped. How the fuck they selling babies to a bidder overseas? Then tell the fam you unworthy. Man, please, we got mamas in pain, daddies in tears. They breaking our hearts, been doing it for years. Now we riding with Gunner, and we got the proof. Sworn under oath, now it's time for truth. Trump got the team and the pen in his hand. He said bring them home, now that's the plan. You feds been hiding, but it's over now. We moving like an army, and we ain't bowing down. Fuck CPS, they ain't saving shit. Just a system full of snakes getting rich off kids. We see through the cap, we done taken the hit. Now it's Suffer Davis popping and we loaded the clip. Gunna got the case, now we in that fight. Taking this to SCOTUS, shining that light. They ruined good homes, now we flipping that script. Time to bring them back, time to empty the clip. They ain't gods, they ain't law. They just people, corrupt people, And when the people rise, ain't no system safe. The Chi-Town, it's the movement. We gunning for CPS, and we coming heavy. Yeah. Wait.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of Gunning for CPS. I'm your host, Gunner. You'll have to forgive us. I know a lot of times people are not getting notified because a lot of people follow us on Facebook. But if you guys are on Facebook, please let the people you know and other groups, so on and so forth. We have been shadow banned for no reason. They have given no reason until December 18th to do any lives. On our channel or even our own news channel for Facebook, which is once again, after all of this is over, this particular evidence, so on and so forth, is going to be used against Meta and Facebook for a freedom of speech restriction, especially with the information that we've been trying to release and to give out. That we will be doing a follow-up lawsuit on them and TikTok for being banned. TikTok labeled the account that I had as information. Well, we have, if it's such information, then why are we in the federal courts? Why have we got a case that's been filed? It's kind of huge. So like I said, we've noticed a little bit of our numbers going down, not just on my platform, but on other shows. Once again, this is freedom of speech. Private network, like public. Okay, with some of the different things that people go on, but nothing that was flagged in the show's account, because it's listed as what it is, but in the private account saying, no, you can't share this information, you can't share the information on the shows. CPS is trying to, once again, shadow ban us, or doing, as we've told you on this show, on other shows, Tiffin the Punisher, so on and so forth, that's pretty much what's going on, and it's affecting some of our numbers. We noticed what was happening upon an investigation, that we were being censored from some of our advertising. So we may take a couple different things through this. Once again, it just replays the shows. Once again, these are our opinions, which are allowed. If you don't like it, change the damn channel. But if you guys got a second or anything, you guys that are out here watching, if you're on Facebook, just take a brief moment here. If you can, jump over on your Facebook and say, hey, Gunning for CPS is still live. They've just been shadow banned, and to direct the traffic over here to the YouTube channel, which is what we're trying to do. And there's a lot of big releases and stuff coming that we told you guys about, and you guys really need to tune into these shows, because there is something huge coming down the wire to help everybody in all 50 states. A little bit of advertisement, this and that. There has been looks like it's going to be an app or something that everything we're getting a lot of green light. We're going to do a little pushing on this. It's an app specifically designed around CPS. Now, once again, we didn't design anything with it, or we didn't have anything to do it. We've just been on the intake and be giving some input and feedback on these things. Or on this program, and it's specifically designed when you have a CPS case. From the very beginning, when you meet them or something that goes on, you can upload all your documents. It scans everything, all your legal paperwork, analyzes it, reads it, the entire 9 yards, puts your whole case together, can help you with forms and so on and so forth. These are not, once again, they'll say AI generated. No, this is a service. This is going to be something, and this has already been determined. And if you guys are a little bit older like I am, you'll remember a company that first started coming out called LegalZoom. LegalZoom, there was a lawsuit against LegalZoom, if you don't keep up with the court cases, that actually turn around, and a lot of places, the legal places, sued them and say, well, listen, we're not giving legal advice. This particular thing, we're not doing anything. We're generating cause and effect. Here's the rules. Here's the laws of, and here's the forms with LegalZoom. Now, when it comes to this platform, it just applies and analyzes. Is what it does is it takes in all the CPS stuff that's public. And once again, these are public records. You got to know where to find them. All the things under a FOIA request. In other words, these are things you can get from a FOIA request, things that are open, within certain terminals, or pulling from different informational websites, so on and so forth, things that are available to the public, and combining them in one place and then applying them to what you will input. And this is huge. It tells you how they're breaking the law, what they're doing, whether, like I said, this AI is going to change everything, but this one is specifically designed for CPS. And this is one of the things we have coming out here really soon. We talked about it when it started, I think, a few months ago on a couple of shows. There was some bugs that needed to be worked out. But once again, the bugs have been worked out on it. I believe they're going to start out. Let's put it this way, John. It's not a person, it's a tool, is what this is going to be. And it's no different than a calculator. You still have to put the numbers in to give the output. And that's as simple as the law is. It's either is or it isn't. Are they following the rules, or are they not following the rules? Are they following the statutes and codes? It's a simple analysis, but it's letting the computer do the work. And if somebody comes up and says, well, that's not fair, the computer's not supposed to be doing all this other stuff, it depends on what you've inputted into it and what service you pay for. And to be honest with you, is that not every app that's on your phone? Is that not every website, program, all these other things that are out there? We're surrounded by them. They're 100% legal. So the arguments and everything else, because we watched some of those things, that even if some of the input was, make sure it does this, make sure it does that, make sure it looks here, how it processes things, it goes on what is publicly made available, even your own state's formats. If the state has a specific format, it's going to have all that in there, the things of this and that. It's going to apply and even analyze. These are all the things that judges are supposed to be following, and magistrates by law. Okay. At the same time, these are the things that are supposed to be practiced in the courtroom. Did everybody follow the rules to even get you into the point of being into a courtroom? And that's what this thing points out. And when it doesn't, it tells you right here, these are your possibilities. In other words, these are your choices. You now have a federal case, and it'll work all that stuff out for you. And that is huge. But they're working on getting all the copyrights to everything now. And like I said, the bugs are worked out. Look for this release, because there's going to be a soft release where so many people, according to the designer, is going to release this to so many people to put their stuff in to do test runs, because they've run several. And like I said, I've been part of the input process of some of that stuff too, and some of the evaluation of stuff. And no, that's not how we came up with our case. No, ours was old-fashioned bookwork. So we wanted to make sure we just didn't go off that basic internet surfing type that anybody can get or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? To where, anybody can look this up. This is specifically put, in other words, even with these AIs, you have got to program it or tell it the parameters of what you want to search. So we make sure that we went through this, we went through this, we went through this, we went through this. And by the time you get through this, you're going to realize how unconstitutional and illegal family courts run, because they're off the wire. Matter of fact, they're not even legal to have. And people turn around, well, what do you mean they're supposed to do this? No. And it's not in its design. And that's going to be one of the arguments. You're going to say, well, you can't. We're going to have that argument in a federal courtroom. Why? Because I can. And that's going to be the questions. What gives you the power, the jurisdiction, and everything else to be over this? And because the Supreme Court has already ruled that families do have constitutional rights, well, when you separate a family, you're infringing upon their constitutional rights with no crime. Well, they say in it's child abuse, it's this, and that. But you're in the wrong courtroom is the other issue. You're in the civil courtroom, and they're trying to put a criminal charge on people, and they're doing this all over the country without meeting the criminal standard, because the civil standard is real low, because it's only meant to be under contract law. So that's where they try to coerce you, intimidate you. This, here, sign this, sign. Because when you sign, you're giving them the power. And people don't realize what they're doing when they come in this. CPS is not a law enforcement investigation. They have there's no oaths. There's oaths that are starting to come out, I believe, in Texas. They have no oaths to the Constitution. They have no, and once again, they feel like they are law enforcement, which they are not, because if they did, they'd be able to read you your rights. They would be able to arrest you, but they don't have that. They don't have the bonds for it. They don't have the permission to do this stuff. That they're so far overreached because they ended up weaponizing an aid program. Well, I'll give you an example. Part of the purpose of everything else there are their supposed programs, and this is what has been brought up on the Senate floor and the House and several subcommittees. Is if they're truly there to be a service to aid the people, then we have programs to help them or get them back on track, get them back in the workforce if they're having issues, if they're hungry, get resources for food and all these other things. It's a government agency that's doing things of saying, here, if you're hungry, here's a list of food pantries. Here's places that you can go get a free meal of this, and that. But no, they flip it and go, oh, you can't feed your kids. You can't this, and that. We're not even going to offer you services. We're just going to take the children. And actually, my guest had just joined. Let me bring Henry out here. This is our ADA guru. Hey, Henry.
What's up, guys?
So we were going over just a few things here as far as CPS is supposed to be a program to aid parents in need and to give them the skills that they may lack, not steal their children. Yeah, this is the whole design of it. Matter of fact, it's under the purpose of Title IV. Under the purpose we've read several times is to keep families together. And worst case scenario, when the families fail, in other words, something massive happens, not little things, they're to go to family members to keep the culture together, to keep the family together, to keep this together. If you have single mothers, it's actually written in there to say they want single mothers to marry. They want families. Yep. So the very fact of what CPS is doing and ripping people apart from their families is against the entire part of the Title IV funding.
And
under
then,
purpose.
And then some. Because it'd be also a violation of the ADA that your skills as a disabled person should not be used against you, and they should give you the effective tools to overcome.
And here's the thing. There's people out there with MS or with this, and they say, listen, you just can't take care of your kids. And they're not to make that determination. The question is whether or not you have a support system there.
Right.
The design is to keep the family together and let me be that support system. And when you don't have family, the concept of CPS and that whole program under the Department of Health and Human Services is to keep the families together and say, how can we fill in the gaps to aid you to keep your family together? The goal is more to keep the family together, not to tear them apart.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But, and here's the other thing. And here's the funny thing. You've got a bunch of, and I'm going to put it straight, snot-nosed kids that are in their 20s or people that don't even have kids or even raised a kid to turn around and tell somebody that's got 2, 3, 4, 5 kids to come in with something because unique situations always pop up. I mean, even when we were growing up, we dealt with people turning around and saying all sorts of things that we parents knew it wasn't true. It was something because you were what? A hateful, vindictive kid. And we all knew those kids.
They did it back then because they would have got their asses kicked in the 60s and 70s and run out of time.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Everybody said, well, you're silencing your victims. No, everybody knew it was absolute bullshit because a lot of times the family would look at it, investigate it, and just go, how could that happen? In other words, they use common sense of saying, if that happened during this time, funny, we were a whole state away, so your time period doesn't line up. They were doing investigations in this, that, but now even that CPS has come in and says, well, if we're going to be the family or fill that gap that your family should be filling, that they're not filling, we're just going to become your family. And we're going to be, but the problem is we're going to be that nosy aunt or uncle that's all up in somebody's shit. Well, I don't think you should do that.
Because they're feeding them money. You're owned. Once you $50, you're owned basically. And that's the problem with the society. We shouldn't be caring about, like, if somebody was on food stamps or needed a roof over their head. And again, I ain't saying indefinite, but I'm saying under the theory of, like, again, retraining, then yeah. And for your MS person, if that case was the case and they were saying something like, the child's 12 years old or 10 years old, and your MS is so bad, let's just say you can't cook because you're shaking with a pot, or you can't stand for long periods of time, then my feeling is they give Meals on Wheels. They give
exactly. Where's the service that could come in?
School lunches they give out. So why wouldn't you give the house the extra meal and send somebody over there
because they want that money to stay in house and make a profit as a business, rather than use those funds. What they're designated for is to actually help and fill the void, because they're not. They're a complete failure.
Again, the person's 10. And I get it, but age 12, Gunner, weren't you outside cooking on a big fire pit? Weren't you doing
shit?
You know what I mean? I just don't get it. Kids are not given opportunities today because they say, "Oh no, that's a child." They're 21. When do they start?
8, 9 years old, man. Even before that, we knew how to wash the dishes. We know how to cook a pot of water. Boil some water for something. You knew how to boil water, because why? Boiling water is a survival technique. It's something every child should learn how to do. It purifies water. You cook with it. You learn a lot of things. You
knew you didn't climb up your dresser and try to pull down a TV, so
pull it on top of you.
Wired.
It's
crazy the shit they come up with. You don't have your dresser wired. You're a bad parent. Come on.
Well, and at the same time, look at the products you were using, because you didn't have that problem. Why? All that shit was made of heavy damn oak, and that shit weighed like 80 to 100 pounds. You weren't pulling it down.
No, it was rock maple, brother.
Yeah. It was heavy furniture. You couldn't pull that over. Hell, you had to take 2 people just to move it.
Yep. Oh, you're lucky to get a cedar table.
So how is this?
Now everything is freaking pine and freaking
cardboard.
Well, locust wood. It's like a yellow pallet wood, junk wood.
But see, here's the issue: we had quality made products that were American made products, and we took it in for this substitute cheap stuff. In other words, we didn't better ourselves by importing garbage.
Mm-hmm.
There's the issue, and sold it, but once they realized
jobs to do it.
Exactly. So then you turn around. These were things that were constructed better, and they say in a certain, but we had a standard. Half the stuff I see even coming off the books or anything else with, like, from Amazon or Temu or some of these other things that ship some of these products down, they got a loophole. We just facilitate that, but doesn't meet the American standard to even be on our soil to be sold.
You just said the key word, loophole. There's a loophole in every part of your life today now. And it's like, when you stop jumping through these loops? Oops.
So listen, I don't know do you know who Andrew Wilson is?
Nah, it doesn't sound familiar, but
he sometimes is a guest on another podcast. And most of the podcasts they deal with is usually only fangirls or this or that, and they talk about the family values and the society, and why these people do what they do, and what puts them towards the extreme of how what they are, what they're doing, and going back into the oldest profession of some of them was saying these are not people that think, and the same ones that are out here screaming, "Don't worry about my body count, it's 5,000 or something else," or getting the misandry. And this is the harsh reality people run into, and it's a hard thing to talk about, and they wonder why men, when they become single, they go after younger girls that don't have kids, because it's part of a societal as well as a psychological point of view of going, well, I don't have to deal with the baggage of somebody else's kids. There's one from the aspect. But all of a sudden, you've got these ones that have divorced their husbands, been a single mom, gone through this and that, and say, now I'm going to find my value. And it goes both ways for both men and women. They've left because of this and that, but they have to have a reason to stay, as far as family. And there's not giving reasons of the home, and they got to understand, and it's not just the peoples or individuals, it's our society. It's our world. It's become a norm. It used to be, growing up, it was unusual that somebody was not married, back in our day. I mean, that was just unheard of, let alone to have kids unless they were a widow.
Bill, what is it? Bill, Lawless America. Oh geez, I forgot his last name. But anyways, Lawless America, 2008 area. It's the same thing. We're moralist and lawless. Get your game on. Get your hustle on. Get your count on.
Let me. I want to share this, and this is who I was talking about, Andrew Wilson. You'll see him on the left-hand side, and this is a debate of what is better for society. Is whether or not it's going to be, in society, whether Christianity, and the debate was Christianity versus, Muslims, of what's better for society. And there's two different ways of looking. Like I said, and if you watch it, it's on YouTube. You can watch it for yourself. I encourage you guys to go watch this stuff. But he brings up a particular point, and a lot of people, you're going to laugh at some of the things he says, so on and so forth. But he hits on a very, very, very big point. And the debate between this and that, but to summarize it, it comes down to the Muslim side is you have stronger families, you have stronger faith. And under Christianity, of saying you may have those, is a good point, but you also have another issue within your religion that causes an issue to dumb people down. Now, watch the whole debate. And I know some people, I encourage you guys to go out and watch this debate. But I want you to listen that he hits on a point, but he kind of laughs at it, because it seems like that we shouldn't even be having this conversation, because even this conversation is kind of like above your head. And I want you guys to listen to some of this stuff, and it's going to blow your mind. But listen, this is where Andrew picks up. It's his turn. The first one, obviously, Daniel, I can't remember his last name, how to pronounce it, but he's in here debating. He's done his. He spoke first. Then Andrew comes out, and some of you may recognize Andrew from, like I said, the show that he's a guest host on sometimes, or a co-host, or just on the platform. I think it's like and everyone, or at everyone, or something like that. I can't remember. You have to forgive me. It's been a long day. But listen to this.
Good job, man. The fun thing about debate is you get to actually get in the mind of your opponent.
Make it a big screen.
What happened? Oh. The fun thing about debate is you get to actually get in the mind of your opponent. You get to study and dissect the things that they say and believe. After watching Daniel for hours, a few things became obvious. The first, he's a far better Muslim apologist than I am a Christian apologist, that's for sure. But he's far weaker on politics than myself and the nature of the world. The second is that he's an above-average debater, but he ain't quite God tier. See, if I were Daniel and fighting from his worldview, I'd point out Christianity is fractured and weak, that Christianity is totally incapable of fighting back against the degeneracy of our time. Its impotence has led to social categories of degeneracy at levels nobody could have predicted, especially with the advent of the internet. I would point out Muslim societies don't work that way, that Muslims have feminism and degens under control, that everything in modern-day Christians in the West are fighting for against degeneracy, Islam has already achieved in their lands. That's what I would do if I were Daniel. When talking about which is better for society, Islam or Christianity, this becomes a powerful argument. But I'd go a step further if I were Daniel. I'd also say my opponent will argue like an atheist progressive, that Andrew Wilson, the guy who promotes anti-feminist and egalitarian doctrine, is going to sit up here and act like an egalitarian progressive and cry about Islam being mean to the women and cry about Islam not being very nice to the gays. Well, you were wrong. Sadly for Daniel, while this tactic would normally be effective against a sewing circle Christian, I'm not part of that cast, sir. Now, let me get into my argument for why Christianity...
Now, I want you guys to listen to that. This is not your average debate with your average church-going, holy, some people call holy rollers or whatever you want to call it, that comes in here to go back and forth and debate. This is your average everyday person, your average American, believes in God. Once again, and a lot of views that line up with Christianity, but he's not the kind that's going to roll over and do that whole turn the other cheek, which is what they count on, that we're not going to fight. You know what I'm saying? This is a different conversation. This is a different aspect that we've always been professional debate, do this and that. But now you have coming out and you've picked the wrong fight with the wrong guy. And that's most of us that here, I'm not going into a church with this. It doesn't mean that I'm not, I don't follow those particular teachings or those particular things in my life, those type of things. I just don't do it like the cookie cutter things that you say I should act like. And this is the probably most American debate, or somebody to represent us in a way. It's very American, because we're not just that, we're that blue collar worker, right, Henry?
Well, he lost me after he wiped his nose. So on public stage, he blew his nose.
Well, like I said, I stick to the speech more to the person of the character. Once again, you see some of the individual things.
Snap and go fight the guy right now. I mean,
well, this is just his. Like I said, when he comes into debate, he comes in very heavy. You've ever watched some of the different things he goes on?
No, not the guy speaking. I'm talking about the guy who's going to defend from whatever the statement's being made now.
Oh, I got you. The other guy is Daniel. Yeah, that one's Andrew. There's a lot of things, but the reason I wanted to bring some of this up, or even bring it on the show, as far as constitutionality and CPS, is this goes to the core of things, and we're going to discuss that a little bit more. But listen, I just wanted to point that out, that he's like, I'm not the average person that you're used to dealing with. I'm just an average. I'm just your, in the debate circle, or in this thing. We're not going to be politically correct. We're not going to do all this spare your feelings stuff. I'm going to tell you my side of the story, and that's the way it is. And whether you like it or not, your feelings are your responsibility. But I'm glad they're bringing debate back. This is one thing I'll tell you from my perspective. I'm glad to have debate.
It makes better societies than Islam, and it's pretty simple. Islamic societies breed an inbred population. Next slide, please. Muslim inbreeding has been occurring at a high rate for about 1,400 years, since the early Islamic period, encompassing most of the land still occupied by Islam today. It spread from the 8th to the 15th century, moved into Persia, North Africa, South Asia, where it remains, and has created some of the dumbest human beings on planet Earth. The most common type of inbreeding is first cousin marriage. The rates of first cousin marriage in comparison to Christian nations is staggeringly high, even in comparison to regions occupied by Arab Christians. When a nation has both Christians and Muslims, Muslims are often double or higher than Christians. Example, India, Lebanon. Next slide, please. Muslim inbreeding. Oh, sorry about that. Pakistan at 65%. 65%, meaning more likely than not, you're having sex with your cousin, and if you're not, you're the weird one. Okay? For the low IQ members of MDD, that means these people are more likely than not having sex with their aunts or uncles' children. Saudi Arabia, 50 to 58%, with an average 76 IQ.
And the IQ
Who would have thought it? UAE, 54%, 82 IQ. The crown jewel of the Arab world, you are more likely than not to be banging your first cousin. Iran, 40%.
He's pissed.
80 IQ. Yemen, 45%, 62.9 IQ. Qatar, 30%, 80.8 IQ. Now, we're going to continue, right? Oman, 36%, 78. Syria, 39%, 74 IQ. Turkey, 25%, 86 IQ. Jordan, 32%, 80 IQ. Egypt, 32%, 76 IQ. It goes on and on and on, and it just never gets better. Next slide, please. Thank you.
Man, he's calling out some low
Compared
IQ
to Christian countries, let's take a look. Usually less than 1%. Now, I wonder why.
Usually less than
1%, ladies and gentlemen,
in our society.
Now, let's keep going. We want to pull up the slide here, moving right along.
Now, we'll remember, and we'll go over some history and a lot of, we'll say, scuttlebutt or anything else. But let me give you an example. Henry, what are some of the states that are well known for a lot of inbreeding?
I have no clue. Tennessee?
West Virginia? Kentucky, Alabama, kissing cousins, a lot of those other things, stuff like that. Georgia, And a lot of this was done during times when they were escalated because there weren't a lot of people around. They were large farms or plantations or whatever it was, to where, yeah, there was a lot of inbreeding. And this happened a lot through Appalachia. And this is well known. And we still see the effects of some of that today. And the thing is, I think that we need to point out too, as we as Americans have figured out, because if history was taught, and hopefully they don't quit teaching this, which some people, once again, you're talking about inbreeding being part of a lower IQ. Well, that's still going to shadow over into our world today. Our politics of America, knowing this, there's two classes of people. One that believes in the Constitution and says, listen, everybody's equal. Everybody's, the intelligent and the not so intelligent, we'll call it. Okay. That goes through this, because we have to deal with the reality that those people do exist and they do have the power of vote. But there's two ideologies of schooling which separates between the Democrats and the Republicans, as how, and this goes through, and you're going to watch it, and when I say it, it's going to blow your mind because it'll make so much sense. Those in the Democratic Party, or those that are the puppets that play the politicians in those particular things, tend to come from a society or a point of view of, I'm better than you, I'm smarter than you, and we need big government because we need to tell you what to do because you're just too dumb to figure it out yourself.
No, you're too unsafe. You cannot make the right decisions. You're
exactly
insecure in safety. What other gay words, or I don't even know if we can use the word gay. I don't know. Gay
in the 20s, it would refer to something completely different.
Right. Happy. You were a happy person. Again, it's like, and it was always associated to square dancing too, to let you know.
Yeah. But we see that compared to what we see some of the Republican Party. And this is a lot of the party differences we have to understand that were even talked about when those parties were created. That, listen, everybody's equal, even this and that, but it's our job to take care of each other as what? Communities. See, a lot of the things, when you go back into the history, the Democrats had that slave owner mentality of, my slaves just don't know no better. They're like animals. They don't know no different. They didn't learn the lesson. Now, I'm going to connect this with something in history that goes back to England and all the way back before the settlement times, before even anybody set foot on this soil from another continent, is the fact of blue bloods within the king lines, the royalty lines that happened over in Europe, and it still is happening a lot today, is they didn't breed outside the royal family. And the reason they were getting so bad with that during certain times, even in parts of England, that their inbreeding was so bad that they had to give them rights of Scottish lords and lords of England or Scottish lords, this and that, to do their bloodline, to mix with the common people just enough so the inbreeding that comes out has deformities, genetic chromosome, issues. Okay. And this is what he's talking about. You're dumbing down a population with your religion and your belief system or your sense of community by allowing this to happen of inbreeding, which we've pretty much corrected in this country. If you listen to what he said, it's like 1%. Now that number was much higher in this country during colonial times and some of those others. And like I said, as America began to fill out the continent, if you will. But we realized the problem, and because we had such a diversity of multiple immigration, that a lot of people didn't want the segregation. Why? Because you're going to cause a lot of inbreeding. And the concept is, it's just like breeding two different dogs. If you've done with dogs or horses or anything else, you're hoping two people of good stock, when you bring them together to breed, and say like a crossbreed, like on a dog or something, it brings their strengths out and not their weaknesses. But you'll even notice when that happens, especially with pure bloods, what they call pedigree, and we do this with our dogs too, and our horse shows and stuff like that too, is here's something that's bred so well, or the best of the best, or the sire blood is so good that the best of the traits have come to, that these are now, that's why the sperm goes for so damn high on horses. But we don't realize this and make the connection. Well, what's that got to do with us? They've applied that same science to the American people and split it between political parties. And this happens up in Canada too. And John, I know John's up in Canada, even with their prime minister going damn nuts with the stuff he's doing, and it only benefits a smaller group. We're even better than the rest. This is what we're seeing to come out, that some of the ways that they were making their money is through child trafficking, through human trafficking, through all these other things. But what did that do? It controlled the slaves or the dumber people.
We used to be an economy of production, meaning there was a good. Today, they've changed it 100 years later to an economy of nothing. When I say nothing, meaning, well, we're going to make a whole industry on treating people on medical. We're going to make a whole industry on marriage therapy. We're going to make a whole industry on, again, dying. And again, back in the old days, you would just be, family will take you and kick you in a goddamn hole and you were done.
Yeah. I mean, the concept is at the same time, family meant everything. Not that long ago, some of the things that CPS focuses on is tearing the family
areas apart. You talked about too. Don't forget, they were settlers that were out there in the mountains and would never see anyone. And again, and again, the only way you can survive is by numbers, because when you had that much abundance of food, from squirrel to possum to whatever else that critter walked by, or fish, they had it all. They had the good life.
Well, and here's the issue though that's happened, because we're not populating enough. Here's the scary fact: how much of our population today is actually immigrants or people coming from other countries? What's the number? So I went down that rabbit hole. Did you know it's greater than 25%?
I believe it.
At the same time, we're not bringing in. That's one of the things that Trump was saying. We need to have the balance.
Wait a minute. When your data reflects it, is it as a firstborn American child of an immigrant, or or is it the actual?
No, that's the immigration that has come in that we have documented that are still here.
Right.
It's higher than 25%. I don't remember the exact number. You can go to the Census Bureau to go through and get those things. And that's what they ended up trying to do. Why? Listen to this, is very similar. This is why the Muslims came in when they did. Hey, we're going to take advantage of this, because he points out, they're not very intelligent people, but they breed like crazy to where they overtake things. But they don't bring anything productive to the society. And like I said, once again, like you said, we're a nation of this, and that. Imagine taking that out from within. This is why it doesn't line up. At the same time, their goal is to overthrow the Constitution and implement Sharia law. In other words, their
Sharia law is the business. You have the business of everything. Yeah. It's in everything. As a matter of fact, Sharia law, I think, controls our banking industry. The rules and regulations were founded through.
Well, that's a little bit different, because a lot of people have confused. See, most people just do this towards the Muslim, and this is a topic that a lot of people don't like to talk about.
Muslim banking law.
It's not Muslim. It's believe it or not, it's the Zionists of Judah. There are multiple, just like in that, those older religions. Remember, some people trace it back all the way to Jacob and Esau, that those were the two that split between the Muslims and the other, and then the one didn't take and completely wipe them out. There's those stories, those things that go through, and history goes through it, as well as other civilizations. But they always leached on the bottom of a lot of different things, and they came through. And as Andrew talks about in this debate, is what are they bringing to society if not, new science, new medicine, new this? No, it's all about family and control. That's exactly what you're thinking. And this is why the very basis of somebody that's in there, because the concept is, you have to live, when you live in this country, you have to agree to the Constitution, which is human rights. And that includes women and children. And when you pull away from that fundamental constitutional value that our founding fathers had, the families had, that took and says that our country is not going to fall in those traps. Why? We're going to write the Constitution to say if somebody does anything against this Constitution, you're warring against the Constitution and you've committed things like treason. The issue is we're not hanging people for the treasonous acts they're doing to set the example for the rest of society by executing these people for their crimes that everybody knows that they're doing. But the question is, they've hid behind the judicial system, and they're in black robes and everything else in our state courtrooms. They're equivalent to, and we've pointed that out on multiple shows. Why that's not legal? Why it's not allowed? Why some of the things in how family courts are not even constitutionally sound? Why?
Mm-hmm.
Congress is the only one to give that power. The states came up with family court. There's only two courts in the United States legally: criminal court and civil court. Two divisions. That's it. The Constitution did that, created that. To create family court, it had to be created and adopted by Congress, and it was never done. So instead, they label it, because everybody's going around, and you're seeing this transition that they're trying to make people ignorant on, of this transition going into, wait a minute, but family court is a division of civil court. So, okay, well, this is where they don't like it and they don't think it applies to them, is because the rules of civil procedure still apply to family court.
And they
don't want you to know that.
And I would say criminal does too, because again, if you're going to sit there and say somebody's doing something bad to a child, why doesn't society have the right to know about that? So in other words, yeah, man, if I met you on the street today, like, let's just say we did meet this year, but I don't know what kind of person you were, 10 years ago. Did you beat a kid
right.
or not? Why shouldn't you have that? That should be the number one registry, but instead it's a sex registry.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it be a child beating registry? I don't get it.
What's funny is when they took all this stuff out, and they don't realize when they took out one. I'm a master electrician with a lot of certifications to do a lot of things that very few people in this country do, or all under one roof, will say.
Yeah, us S1, us P1 people got you beat.
Well, always the trade spoken, and that's okay. We laugh at everybody.
Hey, at least your license.
Yeah. And I've traveled all over this country doing stuff, so I'm familiar with codes all the way from the big city down to just the state, to the counties, to all this stuff. And this is the stuff people don't realize. At the same time, every device that comes out there's a new code for a new invention in the set. They try to make it towards the code, but there are certain things now that you have to write a code in there for that are specific for those things. Give you an example. We now have battery charged cars, rechargeable. We had the same thing with RC cars, but we didn't have to go get a special charger for it, right. Which is the same thing as an RC car. That there's now a section of the code, the NEC code, specifically dealing with electric vehicles.
Actually, people don't even understand it, but the whole power system, the grid, actually has batteries the size of cars lined up in parallel series and ready to rock and roll upon a minute of demand, or if they lost power at the plant. And
listen, that's taken away some of the power from big oil. Some, not much. Trust me.
But
the amount of lobbying.
It's a cheap way to balance out the infrastructure.
Yeah, it redirects this. Like I said, people can make oil companies can make $3 billion a day, easy. $30 billion a day, without even getting out of bed. And you want that? And that's rich oil money. Now, you want to talk about rich oil money? You're going to want to talk about. Texas, Houston, Texas, some of those other places. I mean, the Houston were known for being the Oilers till it was, the amount of houses, but then you've got like two different types. You've got extreme mansions, and then you've got the old hut houses and stuff that these, a lot of these workers work in, but they're still paid really, really well to do this stuff. But it's a very exposed job. It's a very dangerous job. And that's if you're on the land. There's a lot of guys I know that go on the oil rigs and work on the oil rigs. That's huge.
But oil's always going to be there because people don't get it. You got from your plastics all the way down to composites, and again, it's in everything, and that's the problem. It literally is even in our food line.
Well, did you see that guy? I think he was out of Chicago or something that took the plastics and turned it into a fuel and ran an engine on it.
Yeah, we talked about that. Whatever happened?
Man, that is anymore. I don't know, but once again. This is a way to get. Well, once again, that was an issue for our waste. Can you imagine all the stuff that's in landfills and everything else to where there's no waste of the plastics? It turns into fuel. I mean, there's a zero. I mean, that's a complete cycle of using something from this to this to this and getting rid. In other words, anytime you can reduce your waste by finding another way of consumption for it, it makes more sense. But the idea that's not profitable for a business. But once again, even back in the day, they call it, some people used to call it, we'll call it hillbilly ingenuity, would put some things together or put it together the best they could. And there was a lot of things that people that just didn't have, even when they're poor, but they weren't very intelligent. And this is why, listen, and I'm going to give you a great example. Because there was people coming out of World War II, those veterans that came out that grew up on the farms or out of nothing through poverty. I mean, the whole nation went through poverty. And you had guys come out that when they got out, they were doing things like building bridges and infrastructure and major like heads of, these are like the guys that designed and built or worked on stuff that it wasn't easy. But there had to be a lot of brain power to it to even design these things. There was no such thing as an architect. Do you know what an architect was?
What?
Back in the day? It was the head guy that had all the experience for everything it needed to make a bridge and understood the science behind it and could even make the adjustments to it as they went along. A master usually come under one of the unions, took it over, till we decided, hey, let's remove all that labor work so they understand what it takes to go from the ground up. Let's just give them a degree. And now they're just fancy drawers. Well, we have to analyze this. We have to, y'all don't do that stuff no more. Y'all got a computer program to put that stuff in there. Are you joking? You've been replaced by a computer. I mean, and then now with AI, can you imagine the amount of jobs that could just be gone of just saying, hey, I want to design something, or now I'm going to put on these virtual reality things. Can we do this more on the inside? Can we do this? Now, can we make the aesthetics look like this? Now this AI is coming in. You watch how fast this takes off, especially in the industry with stuff.
Listen, I'm into that 3D printing homes. I'm going to tell you why. 1, it's going to be hurricane resistant. 2, fire resistant. 3, well insulated. And 4, it's a natural material of the earth. You know what I mean? How it's lime and dirt and sand, and again, there should be no chemicals in it unless you're in a cold area where they got to put chemicals in it so it doesn't freeze, so it can cure.
Have you seen that new technology that they were playing with? And I think it was a huge insult for this supposed hemp ban thing, and I really want to see how that's going to affect that industry. But there's an industry out west that makes like interlocking hemp type material that it's structure and it's insulation all at once, and it doesn't burn.
Yep, does not burn, does not decay.
Wow,
don't like it. Yep,
exactly. I mean, here's a good solid material, and is this
something? It's quick growing. Will cleanse
quick growing. Everything else, it's better for the environment. Why? Because a hemp plant can exchange carbon dioxide into oxygen or make that transfer to breathable air. I think it's like 100 times more than a tree. Now that's freaking nuts.
Uptake for chemicals and bio waste and everything in the land.
We've made ropes out of it for years for the ships. They still do.
Right. And it's
my
best bet. Why don't we go back to that industry?
But once again, is this a push from lobbying and certain people rubbing elbows? What's better for our society?
Big oil, because big oil makes nylon. Big oil makes, cotton.
Well, I'm saying building materials. That means less chopping down of wood. If you use this material, less logging. Okay, logging industry would take a hit. on those particulars of this, a pretty good hit, but we wouldn't have to take and use up all our natural resources at the same time too. It just makes more sense because, like you said, can I grow a field? I can grow a field left and right of that stuff, and it grows like weeds, if you will, and harvest it.
It's like a bamboo. It's like a bamboo shoot, straight 8 feet high.
But watching them do this stuff versus pouring concrete versus doing this, and then my question becomes this, and this is kind of interesting. Could this same material be used as a replacement for some of our roads? Oh, see what I'm saying? See, what's the wear and tear of it? What could you combine it with something else to make it as hard? Or like Europe had, they use a special volcanic ash in some of their stuff, then, and the roads heal themselves. That's why you see the structures that have been here for like 1,000 years in those areas. There's a lot of science behind this stuff. But we're not getting back into the basics of the Gunner, you're getting off topic with the CPS. Now we're talking about they've done all this stuff within this whole spectrum. This is more of a big picture. If these people truly believe all those things, and it's about money driven, so you've got money driven, and you've got people that are awake enough to say there are classes of people that are on the different end of the spectrum within people that have a lower IQ, not fit to do so. In other words, you couldn't give them anything technical. You know what I'm saying? They just, and we've all known people like that through our life. They're just not a technical person, but they're a damn workhorse. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they work like a damn dog, and there's nothing wrong with that. And the idea is equally take care of everybody to where everybody goes home. You don't want to do the labor. Well, I got time. I'll do the labor. Hell, I'll dig that ditch for you. And this, and that. That's fine. Right. But then there's two perspectives on that. And we see this even within business structure. This one produces more than the other. This is a good producer. And how do we keep them that way? We keep them dumbed down. Now, this went into our public school systems. This went back into the Rockefeller point of view that had that same perspective, okay, that, goes into that stuff. You've got that perspective of these people aren't that bright. They need somebody to take care of them. Well, we'll just rule over them. And then they got a sense of having a kingdom, if you will, as previous ones had. And the power and the money and everything else went to people's head rather than being human, as our Constitution puts through there. And even as the law is supposed to look at all of us equally. Right. There's no different from Johnny oil rig, owner owns, $30 million a year versus somebody that's in a wheelchair that has cerebral palsy or has Down syndrome. Or we have to make sure that we're taking care of and protecting those people. Now, we watched that one video too, where they brought that Down syndrome girl in there for shoplifting. And remember that? I was showing you that. That was crazy. How can she be in a court of law that she's not competent? She doesn't have the mental capacity to understand what's going on. Yeah, I mean, and how can you, with judge, sit there or anybody else put something on this girl's record? Well, you're all equal under the law. Did you give her any ADA to make her understand basically not only what she did was bad, that's about the comprehension she seemed to have, versus you broke a law. I mean, it's not like the kid's coming around and going, oh, they murdered somebody. It took something. Who did it affect? A business. Well, we all need to live in this society together. We need to have a little compassion, which we don't have anymore because we've all been isolated thanks to jab lockdown.
Churches and neighbors, man. It's been eliminated. You can't even say pledge allegiance to the flag anymore, but you can have a different flag flying in that classroom.
And once again, here's the thing. There's a time and a place for everything and what's allowed and what's not allowed. Right. In things like that. And there's a lot of loopholes, like what we said before. Public versus private. Public, you're under certain things of this, and that's what they're trying to draw people into. That education system. I mean, we did the numbers just recently on our county. I was talking with Jessica Saxton, and some research and stuff that she's going through. And if a lot of guys you don't know, yes, that's with Tanoa Downing, but also understand that Jessica Saxton is in my same county. Her case is in my county, same state, everything. That's why there's a connection that particular way is with Jessica. And one of these particular things that goes through here is was going through and finding out 50% of the children that are in the public school system in this county are in foster care.
Yeah.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is absolutely disgusting. That's saying half of them. Now, I'll bet you anything if I ran the statistics through those children, how many of those you want to guess were low income?
I would love to know how many kids in total in the school, because we know the school systems have actually geared themselves to be the institution of distribution. So meaning that person gets extra help, this person gets it. I mean, crazy stuff where somebody came up to me and they said that the state of Connecticut was given Creek River Street School was given a car to somebody to use on the weekends, and it just didn't make sense to them. And I says, well, wait a minute, even paying for the gas. And I says, are you serious? Weekends?
No.
Now I could see during the week if you got to go to Boston or something like that, 2-hour ride, and you ain't got no car, because yes, that is a hindrance to get medical treatment. You have to now drive to areas. I couldn't even imagine. Like, in other words, I picture your beautiful.
But see, instead of when your family can't and you don't have,
right.
Those are the type of services that CPS is supposed to be doing. Paying somebody to taxi your ass out of state funds to get from point A to point B.
Right.
That's what that money is supposed to be used for, not chasing after parents over just simple things and try to create.
I mean, they have the technology now for share cars. So you're going to tell me they don't know when a car can be booked, and then the person gets there, takes the bus there, parks.
To be honest with you, let me change it up for you, brother.
Like, you can leave a few in the schools, you can leave a few in your post office, you leave a few at the town hall, few at
not even that.
Anywhere there's a town. I'm just saying there is parking space.
Once again, if you're getting the ride, the wheel. Here's the other thing: why not just pay for the Uber or Lyft for them to do it?
Well,
let's approve those funds to go for that for people that qualify. And when they have that, it's just like a SNAP card. People that just can't, they get those pre-approved. They're done. They have a certain parameter. So keep it out of what now? Because why? You just eliminated a ton of jobs. If I can go on a website now, put in a legitimate reason for this and that, or my situation, like a case is. In other words, I qualify a set of qualifyings. I'm going to give you so much to do what? Just to get a doctor's ride back and forth to the doctor?
I mean, maybe we could use that for the people who cannot get a driver's license. That could be
blind. That too. I mean, people that can't, or this or that. But and these are the concepts.
They got to get these people around a lot better. They can't get the elderly around now. They can't get the freaking. Yet they want to accuse parents of not being able to get around their children to places or showing up at doctor's appointments, whatever.
Well, and here's the concept. That's less people to hire and use that money towards more caseworkers, more this, more that, more structures of this, more of prison systems, and actually aid people like it's designed to do. It's the purpose of the money. It wasn't created to do this. But they locked in on one particular aspect or a couple aspects of their services and go, this one makes more money. This one allows us more. This is a system. This particular system is not supposed to be profitable. It's supposed to be a burden upon the people.
In your state, are they giving incentives now for teachers to live in the inner cities? Or the poor neighborhoods, or
no, I don't know how that does for the Department of Education.
Well, in Connecticut, we're doing that. So they, even if you're a police officer, firefighter.
Oh yeah, I've seen that happen.
Miles to live where they work,
Yeah.
And what my problem was that it's almost like it's the next level of security, because again, these people are going to be on the job next 24 hours a day. And again, they see something, they're going to report something, or, you don't know. You don't know anymore.
But see, now this is the issue. You've weaponized, because of all the other issues we've had, especially with immigration issues and the amount of people that are not supposed to be here that have not come into the country legally,
Right.
on top of the mass influx of everything else because of failed leadership.
Right.
We're having to do a purge because
So
way the
because of
things
that
have now.
purge, did you see the one where they had a camera inside of a construction cone on the side of the highway,
Oh yeah.
and they were bagging everybody? So you know what they're doing. That means their plates are getting run just as well as my plates, plus as much as
Mhm.
their plates, or face recognition is hitting me. And when I go by, oh, they're tracking me, so it's easy. Oh, we just saw them here today.
Well, and here's one of the things. That's the
Future.
No, let me tell you, that is the risk you run of anything when you go into public. The concept is, and let me explain this, because if you'll ever notice people that have a whole lot of anything, one, especially the higher up they go out with their own armed security everywhere they go. People surrounding them to protect them. Not from this and that, of this and that, people looking to hurt them or anything else. It protects them because that's 1,000 eyes with part of the people's jobs to watch and make sure you don't screw up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what you do behind closed doors and is protected by the Fourth Amendment, there's a whole different thing. This is why they brought the crimes, especially of child abuse and some of the other things, or the pedophilia rings and this and that. Why? Because it's things that are happening inside the Fourth Amendment. Well, now a certain amount of people have turned around. Well, if they're doing it inside the home, we got to have a way to get in the home and do our job and make sure to protect children. You still can't. You still got to follow the law. You got to get a warrant. You got to have probable cause. You got to. Why? Because they're not just attacking people that are actual criminals. They're attacking everybody like a shotgun effect, and they're creating stuff. They're lying in court. They're falsifying paperwork. This isn't about this, and that. Oh, trust the system. Hell no, you can't trust these bastards. Nope. They're not out there for the good of the children, because they could care less. They're just another number or something else that's gone.
It's a business. It's a selfish business that they're going to get theirs, and they're going to make sure their life comes first before any citizen's life.
Think about it this way. If they were really truly cared about them, we would never have a child missing from any of these organizations or their custody. And every state, their numbers are staggering of the amount of children that are missing. And they're not all, as the news turn around and tell you, they're all immigrant children or this and that. That is an absolute lie. That is false. That is propaganda.
I would actually say it probably wouldn't be an immigrant child, because if the child's 12 years old, they're going to run away. Well, how? They don't know the area, so it's going to be a little intimidating for them.
Exactly.
Where, again, a white little girl just happens to go by the mall that she used to, you know what I mean, go to, and they drive her to her new location. Well, she kind of has a general idea where she might be.
Yeah. Well, think of it this way. If you take a kid, one, they're in these public schools. You've got these teachers, and it's coming out all over the country, of teachers, administrators, this and that, of people encouraging them. You've got a terrible life at home. That ain't the way it's supposed to be. They don't respect you. You're a damn kid. You're going to learn things, and that's what your parents are supposed to be there to do that.
You ever think teachers had a bad life when they were kids?
Well, once again, I'd say they'd have bad life.
The most I know are the ones that had a privileged life.
Some, yes, that's becoming more of the norm. I'll agree with you on that, because they can
know
spend
what
the
reality time. Was if it slapped them in the face.
No, that is a very sheltered life. A lot of this happens too, because you'll notice a combination. Henry, it also goes hand in hand a lot with purity culture, and it's found within every religion, that they're just so withdrawn, or they're so wrapped up in their religion they can't see the world.
How can I say this? The ones that now are doing the social work, a lot of them are in a situation
come from the churches or in a religion
where, well, no, it could have been again where they were abused when they were kids, and now you see like problems in them You know what I mean? Like I've had a commissioner come up to me, say, "Space, where's our space?" Like I was a freaking 3-year-old little kid, and this guy was dead serious. He's a 6'6" freaking 280 freaking guy. You know, are you kidding me? You're afraid of me?
How am I a threat? Yeah, you look at it as a threat analysis, but once again, it's one of those things of a comfortable. And I can understand trauma, and I can respect that. But one, if you want people to respect your traumas or anything else, you've got to learn an art called communication. You have to learn to communicate that.
Well, I call it hidden disabilities. I think society's walking around with a lot of freaking hidden disabilities.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but once again, you don't need to wear a shirt of this, and that, and say, "Hey, I'm this or that." That's not the idea. I want to I'm just out in public, and here's the issue: I don't care how I am in public.
Anxiety.
Yeah, anxiety.
Somebody's watching me. You know,
but see, now you have this section of where do you feel comfortable in your home? What happens when you rip a kid out of a home at a young age and everything else? Here's the other thing of the psychological effect of it. You'll never know the feeling of peace at home.
It'll never be the same. It'll never be the same.
I feel threatened.
No.
Now, do you know who took it? And when those other things, when those were secure and everything else, when those people came or anything else and anything like that back in the day, you know what they were greeted by? You ain't taking in. This is my house, and if I have to, I'll kill you to stop it.
Yep.
They didn't allow that stuff, or if they heard about it, it was basically going up to somebody else, because these CPS workers did not knock on doors. The only time you got a knock or we need to bring you downtown to have some questions is when they actually had somebody report a crime, do an investigation, and then go through the proper legal process called due process to then take and go before a judge or magistrate or a grand jury. A grand jury made a decision, and you had to find a judge that looked at the grand jury's decision and agreed with it. That's the way it works. Family court does not. It violates due process. Did you see John's post along the way.
Before it disappears? Read John's post.
What's that? And the left politics are stopping. Yeah. Infrastructure. Listen, man. Listen. That John, they this is exactly what they want. They want the dumb people out, and they want two sides of town. This is what they want. This is the belief system of quite a few people in power, politics, and that. I am better. I am smarter than everybody else. I can hang with my own, with these people of this, and that, and I don't have to worry about it. And it's their perception. And the perception, even if you go back and watch that debate with Andrew Wilson and Daniel, to turn around and go watch that thing. It's about keeping people dumb, uninformed, uneducated. Why? Because they don't know no better. They don't know they're in poverty. They don't know they're in this. This is just the way they've been taught.
Listen,
it's ignorance.
It's not taught. It's the way the family. I don't even know how to explain it. You know, you don't know what you're missing.
It's the environment they're raised in.
You don't know what you're missing if you never had that $200 plate of filet mignon versus your mom made you some killer beef stew. You know, killer beef stew.
Some SOS shit on a shingle. That was high line. Listen, man, there's even people that have gone through and fought their way in this country that started out, and we'll make it more modern. Box of mac and cheese.
Yeah,
I mean, you don't know what it's like to just have a box of
ramen noodles,
or this or that to go through to you get to the point and understanding, even as a young age. You don't start out having $300, $400 meals with your, with your significant other on this other stuff. It doesn't work that way. And if you're going to go through and some of these others within society, and this is stuff that they have gone after cultural assassination, they have targeted the black community. I'm going to give this to them 100% right here. They have targeted the black community as being inner city. Inner city. To there for what? Work. What are the workers? The workers in every time. What shows up and is always done through time. Look at any big city. You can look at Detroit, Michigan. Look at Gary, Indiana. Some of these others that were in those areas in the Midwest. that grew, that were beautiful towns, beautiful money, all this other stuff. And this was during what? The 60s and, part of the 70s and everything else. But what did that create? Black money. What did black money end up producing? Malcolm X's, Martin Luther King, all these others, they didn't like that. So what do? You cut their money off. Why? Because they were being heard then. They went from this to scum of the earth to living in poor. That's all they knew was poor. And if you talk to somebody that was from that area, and we're old enough to probably know some people that grew up and had families with grandmothers and this, that, big families, this, that, but they didn't have a pot to piss in, so to speak. They was poor. And even some of us that were white, they come through their family history, they were poor. There was a basic reset of all that, especially during the 1920s when the stock market crashed and everything else. Everybody was poor. There was only a few that held it, and then they held on to it. Why? To wait on the country to reset, to figure out what the hell do we have to do. And you know why it fell? Because it was the first time the Social Security Fund, in its own unique individual way, before it was labeled that, human labor was put on the board as being something that was sold.
Yeah.
And it failed our economy. Better than what we had, a gross national product, which Henry was talking about earlier, something we produced that we sold back and forth. In other words, nobody wanted to trade. We were stuck.
There was a good now. And even then, though, doctors were the only person you depended on. You can get away with giving them, 20 catfish to see you. You know what I mean? You'd spend your day fishing for the guy, basically, and his family.
You took care of those that took care of you, type thing. You had enough for yourself and this and that. But we used to trade. And here's the thing that they hated about that: when you traded with somebody, there was no tax.
No,
they couldn't. They couldn't.
Barter has never been taxed. Barter has never been taxed.
Nope.
And actually, Trump is right. It was all duty tax that came into this country that paid for everything.
And so when you talk about the taxation,
then they said, "Oh, we got to be nice and we got to do business with the rest of the world." Fuck it, dude. If we're the best, why do we have to do the business with the rest of the world? I don't.
Well, we become on a global scale instead of being Americans on the global stage. We had to assimilate to the global stage, and that's not the way it works.
The global stage has been nothing but a crooked stage, and now it's trickled into our judicial. But hey, when we're going to wrap it up, because I'm going to go ahead and crash it out. And I've been up since 4 on this stupid ass computer. And yes, guys, that's why I was late. And this is why you don't trust these internet people. I ended up crashing my computer. I had enough of their shit. It was so screwed up and so many hands were in it. I just totally did a wipe. And it sucks when you do a wipe because you got to do a reinstall. Well, I found a wipe and I'm like, wait a minute. I got a 2024 backup. Let me try downloading it and whatever. I'm just so done with it. But at least I'm happy. I got synchronized internet now.
Listen what he's saying. Because you realize our Declaration of Independence and our Constitution says exactly what he said about his computer. What? It got to the point there were so many hands in it and everything else, and everything was so corrupt and everything else. I had to what? I had to get rid of it and wipe it clean. And start over.
Which again, then military law sounds damn good for me for 2 years, bro. I think 2 years and we'd be able to convert the schools back and find out the exact cost because everything would be converted to the military. The police department back to the military. The hospitals, bro. You want to talk about huge savings? No more $400 aspirins.
Well, listen, I covered, I was doing research on that, and believe it or not, Russia probably has the best system. One, yes, the government, the healthcare system is under the government, but the concept is not to keep you sick. The concept is to make you healthy. So the concept is they don't get paid more to keep you sick. They get paid more to keep you healthy.
Right. And that doesn't mean you get McDonald's and Burger King every night. You got to actually fire up your stove, maybe have a
That's
fucking garden in your life, and not get chemical
but you
vegetables.
don't. You're not hearing that from your medical people that are
No,
treating you like that. It's
no.
only eat better, do better, and use these
Grow
resources instead of
organic.
saying, "Hey, here's some resources. Go start your own garden. Get with this group so you can better yourself, or they'll help you do this stuff." That's a healthcare provider, not somebody that's continued to make you sick to give you another drug on top of another drug on top of another drug on top of the stuff, especially that guys in the trades that we're exposed to.
Yeah.
Asbestos and the
Yeah, but
plastics
that
and
was,
this
and
and
that
that.
sucks because when I was young, I would like bite steel and spit bullet type shit. You know what I mean? I would be like, fucking give me a badge for these uranium in the building bullshit, or here's asbestos or whatever it was. And again, today I question what a dumbass I was.
Well, and once again,
even the spray cans of paint that when we used to paint our bikes when we were kids,
Oh yeah. Well, listen, this is the progress we've got away from, even in the business community or even in the work environment, that we should be experiencing. You may be a young buck, but at the same time, you ain't been doing this like the old timer, and there's a reason God gave you 2 ears and one mouth.
Right.
Maybe you need to sit down, shut the hell up, listen and watch and learn some things, because those that do, those are the ones that have life a whole lot easier. And there's a lot of things you learn, especially in the trades, that even go for life lessons. But, going back to what you say, who I was, some of the people before and this and that. Yes, I was a master electrician, but I was also the guy, like I said, that was there for a lot of my kids and not only my kids, but friends of my kids that had bad homes, that this was the place that they ran. And it wasn't by choice or anything else. It was just giving them structure and basically giving them some rules that this is the way life is. And, people are mean, people suck, and why people have to do half the things they do, I don't get it. But I was also the guy that I didn't coach the soccer team, but I was a referee for the soccer for all of them to go through here. It wasn't this and that. It was about following the rules. And it was a good fit, like I said, for that. And there was a lot of other things, but at the same time, to take somebody out like that gives so much to the community, this is exactly what CPS wants, because people like me that are taken out and then, shamed and framed and everything else that they take and do, your community doesn't want anything to do with you, and you're kind of an outcast. And it does do harm. It does harm to the communities when this stuff comes in.
Well, it also harms the kid, because if the kid comes back to the community, they're labeled again. So it's like, why wouldn't you do
they're being reprogrammed, as they say here in Blount County. 50% of them are foster care kids anyway. So they'll just give them to a family that they agree with their morals and agree with their religion and agree with this and that. There's the basis of, we have to have a question. Right. Are you placing them with their same religion?
Right.
That's a problem. Because if not, you're violating that child's These are the type of things that goes in there that you talk about cultural genocide. Like I said, as we close that, but we have got to look at who we're calling bad parents and who we're doing this and that. And at the same time, it's like, you're calling that bad? Well, I'm just saying the CPS comes in. Will you this, you that? And at the same time,
bad today? Would Leave It to Beaver be bad today? Because I think so. Yeah. I think so.
Andy Griffith, some of the other things. Oh, that's child abuse there. That's
wrong. It used to be good and moral when we were young, but again, there is no morals no more. And if you don't get your hustle on, you're going to
here's the funny thing is
society today. If you don't want,
who's all the ones catching the criminal charges for child abuse?
All right.
Who's the ones catching who's all over? It ain't the moms and the dads.
Right.
It's the foster parents. It's the teachers. It's the counselors. It's the coach. It's anybody outside the home.
They need to make a registry.
Well, what good does it do? We even had a case here. They let him off after 6 months because he was a teacher. Took his then finally, after everybody complained enough, he got 6 months probation. Then he could go back into being society. He was off probation, and they turned around and suspended his teaching license for 2 years. That means after 2 years, he can move and repeat the same damn cycle of inappropriately touching I don't know how many children, and they don't care. Because why? He's part of the elite. He's part of the educated. He has that piece of paper there. You ever notice the cycle? And then you look at the poisons that are coming out of colleges that even Charlie Kirk was talking about. And we're going to touch on that just a little bit. Charlie Kirk, he was it's a waste of money. Why? Because you could go learn a trade or go watch somebody do the same damn thing for so many years and stay out of the book and do some of the book work as you were hands-on. And it's a much better teaching method. Instead, you're taught to what? Where'd you learn to line up? Conform. If you're going to do something, what do? Go tell the teacher. Right? Go snitch.
Sit still, don't move.
Don't do this, don't do that. Now they got them in cameras. It's like listen, take a picture of the prisons. And the only difference is the furniture between that and a public school. Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, it looks the same.
What do you got for the prison? For some of the guys that I've talked to that's been in the prisons, what do you got? You got a library. What's every school got?
The library.
What else has it got? Cafeteria.
Yeah.
They all eat together.
Showers, bathrooms.
What do they have? Do they just let the kids sit down and eat and do whatever they do? No, you're supervised while you're eating. Oh, aren't the prisoners done the same way?
Yep. Rec activities supervised. Everything
Rec supervised. This is that.
When I'm telling
you get in trouble out of there, you go to what? Go to the warden's office, the principal.
The kids went and met down at the schoolyard, and we had our own football games, and we handled it ourselves. And that's where you get the pecking order, no different than the wild. And again, I
always used to love the thing is when you watch people turn around and peak in high school, and that's all they ever did.
Oh,
and you know what 80% of them ended up becoming? Serving in public.
Well, again, I would say that would have been now again the privileged people who went for drama club or whatever. You know what I mean? Tennis.
Yeah. Well, and they don't realize that once again, there's nothing wrong. Let's make this clear. We're not downing those people. They're just saying what we're trying to say is that you've had that extra opportunity, and this
all
is
the troublemakers I knew
you should be grateful.
Are absolute great, fantastic, honest businessmen. Businessmen.
But they don't want that.
Well, they got it out of their system young. They learned, they you know what I mean? They interacted and they learned that they got to go out and get their pie. It's not going to be hidden to them. But anyways,
listen. A lot of this, Henry. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm going to wrap things up.
I appreciate it because I'm going to bed. I've been up since 4 on this stupid computer, and I'm done with it. And
all right,
we'll talk to you soon, guys. Have a great night, and
don't forget to check out Henry's show at. We got a new time slot too for your show.
7:30, brother. Gives us an hour and a half. I think our show should be an hour and a half. I wish people would be able to give us a thumbs up right away. Because we need to know whether or not we're doing good, bad, or indifferent.
And we are being shadow banned. Like I said, a lot of these shows play out on this, which drives a lot of our numbers. Facebook has banned the CPS Punisher, the replay on that stuff on a lot of the pages we broadcast and some of the others, which is why we're pushing everybody. If you can, please come to the YouTube channels. You can like the show, CPS Breaking News Network. You can come through there on CPS Breaking News, the whole 9 yards. We're going to have to push that once we get back on. Hey, guys, join us here. Why? Because they're already known for censoring us. Now they're coming around, and we're realizing the IT department from CPS's nationwide are going in and doing what they can to try and silence us because we're giving out way too much information. We're seeing bans. We're seeing accounts completely removed for no reason, no argument, and Facebook makes it hell to even appeal to them.
I think we're going to have some good Christmas presents this year, guys. There's going to be definitely more heads rolling in the government level, state actors and state players being held accountable. And I think there's going to be some kind of reform of the system. I don't think they're going to destroy it because, again, it feeds
it's peeling the onion, man. Like what we've said since this came in, this has been going on for a while, that there's going to come a time where it's okay, enough's enough. And now they're going to start peeling the layers off of that onion. And this is what we've seen happen during this administration, during this time. exposure, all the people crying this, that. Oh, he's on the Epstein list. It's already come out. It's been released. He is not on the list, as everybody was saying. That was kind of funny through there. And then their excuse said, "Oh, it's been redacted and everything else." No, they had the actual thing. Matter of fact, a congressional measure that went through those things, and they even have Hunter's laptop, and that was actually turned over. He registered as evidence on the committee floor. So it's already on the record, and this is why they don't want it. Why? Because
we'll find out Monday morning when the shit start hitting the fan, guys. But anyways, you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday night. For the guys that are out there in California time and Canada time, and you two down there in Tennessee time. Is it raining today down there?
No, we've still had the warmer weather that you guys just hate so much, 60, 70 degrees and stuff like that. And the Smoky Mountains right here. I can tell you this much.
Cloudy, bursty, cold, another shitty day.
Not yet. We get that probably here in the next month or so. It's been like that. That's why everybody's global this, global that. I go, man, it's just cycles, man. And people don't understand cycles. And all this stuff that's going through here. But guys,
there are no more bugs left. I mean, even the ticks get whacked out, and colder it is.
Well, live in the forest like we do. Bugs are usually something we just learn to coexist with in a lot of ways. And so I think it was last year we got both breeds of cicadas that came out because they come out every so many years. And last year was like one of those rare times that both of them came out, and it was crazy with cicadas here. But Henry, thanks for joining me.
I never had this problem when I was a kid. I've lived on the land for 58 years. Never had this problem when I was a kid. Because why? Because we used to be dead shit scared of the bats that were flying over our heads. And you know what I mean? We were just kids.
Yeah.
And you're seeing these monster bats, plus little ones too. But again, it's a whole ecosystem, and we're destroying it, and including ourselves with it, brother.
We got to learn. We got to learn to live with it, because a concrete jungle does not sustain life. It just doesn't.
We need to go to old school techniques and start eating imperfect tomatoes.
Yeah, a lot of things.
Hey guys, we'll talk to you soon. Everybody have a great night, and take us out of here, man. Let's jam some music. Let's hear some new tunes.
We're gonna.
Hey, what's going on tomorrow night for Tiff and Gunner? Tiff and Darren, are they gonna have
I don't know what's going on. I think there's a few
rumors. I don't know. I'd stick tuned for that one, because
I guess you're just gonna have to tune in.
Yeah, well, I kind of got a lowdown, but whatever.
I know there's some stuff coming around, and like I said, they don't want to miss it, which is probably why they're silencing us the way they are. But Henry, thanks for joining me. We'll catch you on Saturday then.
All right, man. We'll see you during the week too.
See you, brother. Guys, that's going to wrap a lot of things up here. Like I said, go check out that debate that actually went on. It was actually a very good debate, even though it seems a little insulting. But there's a lot of facts, a lot of truth, a lot of other things. But we need to understand and educate everybody to bring them up. The idea is don't press those down that need to be. It's the idea is to take the bottom and raise them up. That's the American way of doing things. Okay, it's not oppression, but to help our community, to help our brothers or sisters, anybody else, to reach up. And with systems like CPS that constantly crush and breed down and just break people's will and destroying the very foundation of everything America stands for, which is family. And once again, that's not pushing towards it. This is why, on that debate stage, he makes a good point. We have good belief in our religion, and we have, great families, that's through those things. But like I said, with those families, that's, the important thing to take and keep together. Like I said, that's what they attack. It's what they fear the most. They do not want those traditional roles. They don't want those things. And it's funny, for those that the feminism and a lot of these other movements that take and go for these things, you all ought to do your research on what they truly believe, because if those societies are taken over, or where that's predominantly is, there is no feminism. Why? Because they're beat the hell out of them. Number two, if homosexuality, transitioning, some of that other stuff, they're killed. It's just that simple. So those are the facts. Those are things we can't change. Once again, those are in predominantly run countries. Say, oh no, it won't happen here. It's a repeated cycle. Once again, a cycle. It does the same thing in every country. This is why countries like Canada, like England, like France, like all these others that are having these mass invasions are going through what they're going through, because they've had them there a little bit longer. And once again, we had some issues they couldn't penetrate. We'll say penetrate our borders until certain people lowered the gates and allowed the drawbridge to where a lot of that influx came in. And now we're fighting that. But we're fighting multiple different things. But guys, keep your head on a swivel. Remember, do something good for yourself. Love on each other. Be part of your community. Help those that don't know. Educate them as far as they go on. Catch us again next week, because I have a feeling we may have an extra special guest from, like I said, a Blount County, Tennessee special edition that we're looking to put together. Waiting on a call back from somebody to see whether or not that's going to happen, but you're not going to want to miss that, because, yeah, we're going to blow the doors off of that and blow the whistles and do some exposing. Thanks, guys. See you next week.
I'm gonna pull the whole thing down. I'm gonna bring the whole fucking diseased, corrupt temple down on your head. It's gonna be biblical.